45 seconds. 45 seconds? I got 8:01, man.
I'm going by the clock behind you.
Oh, that's the official time, not the real time.
Yes.
Good. Borrowed time. I'd like to welcome you to our February council meeting and ask that you please stand for one moment. At each meeting, we take the opportunity to remember our fighting men and women and those that have been lost. In particular, I'd like to take note of the fact that February 19th, 1945, Marines invaded the island of Iwo Jima, and a young Marine, my good friend Joe Smith, was 19 at the time, ended up being president of a bank. But I think it's important to note, at least on the 70th anniversary, that 6,812 Marines and soldiers and sailors were killed in the battle. 19,617 were wounded in action. So on the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Iwo Jima, just if you can take a moment to remember our troops. Thank you so much. Please join us in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. I just want to take note of the fact that, aside from the fact that we're in transition trying to identify a new chief financial officer, our acting clerk decided it was a time to fall on the ice and break her wrist, and we do not have our acting clerk with us tonight. We have Jen Hires, who will be acting as secretary for this meeting. So we'll ask Jen to please call the roll call.
Councilman Frida? Councilman O'Doherty?
Here.
Councilman Barish?
Here.
Councilman Cabell?
Here.
Councilwoman Saventi?
Here.
Councilman Giantonio?
Here. Please read the sunshine notice.
This meeting is held pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this meeting was advertised in the January 11, 2015 edition of the Trends and was provided to the Star Ledger, Daily Record, and North Jersey Herald News on January 11, 2015. Adequate notice of this meeting was also posted on the Municipal Building Bulletin Board, filed with the Acting Borough Clerk, and provided to those persons or entities requesting a notification.
Thank you. I'm going to ask our Public Safety Chair to join me, along with our Chief of Police in the front of the dais, to honor some of our officers. Just before we start, I talked to Adam Barish, our chairman, before tonight's meeting, and we both agreed that, unfortunately, we had a death in the community, and the family is, at this particular point in time, I think, suffering beyond belief. And I know that our thoughts and prayers go out to the family for the horrific event. But I want to just recognize our chiefs and our detectives and the department for just doing an outstanding job. These are never easy situations, and the professionalism that we get from our police is just second to none. So once again, ask that you please support the family in this time of need, and keep you and keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Tonight, we have the opportunity to recognize, I think, more than half of the department, for the state. They're all good. I'll say they're all exceptional. We just go with that. But once again, we're so fortunate that once again to have such a fine police department. As I go around the state, I not only deal with other elected officials, I also deal with our prosecutors, at least on a professional basis, and the reports I get back are always the same. You just have a really, really fine police department. So, Chief, to that end, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
And I'm going to let the Chief read through the acknowledgements and
For the record, I agree with everything he just said. Oftentimes, we're kind of a small police department, but when stuff happens, it's all hands on deck, and everybody pitches in, and that is a great tribute to these guys here for the service that they want to provide you, and make sure that Kinnelon stays nice the way it always has been. The first set of awards is going to be issued to our detective bureau. We have a 2-man detective bureau. Sometimes the work comes in so fast and furious that it can get overwhelming. But for this particular instance, and let me read the letter I wrote the mayor. During the week between June 26 and August 14, 2014, Kinnelon was being victimized by a series of residential burglaries. These burglaries became a community-wide problem which created fear among the residents. During the investigation, Detective Sergeant Crowdhamel and Detective Patrick McDonald maintained a high degree of professionalism by following every lead that was presented to them. Detectives' hard work paid off when we were able to develop a suspect who was a career burglar and heroin user from Wayne, New Jersey. For the next several weeks, the detectives displayed and sustained commitment in their efforts to gather information, evidence, warrants, and conduct long hours of surveillance. Due to their efforts, the suspect was apprehended just after committing a burglary in the town of Oakland, New Jersey. Through the evidence gathered and extensive interviews, the suspect was charged with 5 burglaries in Kinnelon and multiple other burglaries which charging the same town. Detective Sergeant Crowdhamel and Detective McDonald displayed dedication and determination in arresting a career burglar who was victimizing the Kinnelon residents. There are many hours dedicated to the following up leads, conducting surveillance, and directly contributing to the arrest of the suspect. For these reasons, I am issuing the Kinnelon Police Unit citation to Detective Crowdhamel and Detective Sergeant Crowdhamel and Detective Greg McDonald. Okay, considering those cases, 5 burglaries coming in a very short period of time really is overwhelming as far as suspects and evidence information. And it came to the point that it became a bit overwhelming for the 2 detectives. The following awards are going to be to individuals who took the time to take their time off, take their personal vehicles, conducted surveillance, did interviews, did patrol in their own cars on their own time because they cared what was happening in the town. And it was all on their initiative. They were able to help tremendously and ease the workload of the detectives. During the week between June 26 through August 14, 2014, Kinnelon was victimized by serious residential burglaries. These burglaries became a community-wide problem, bringing fear to the residents. While the Detective Bureau was investigating these burglaries, it became clear the job was too big for our 2 detectives. True to the Kinnelon Police mission statement of integrity, accountability, pride, fairness, and respect, service, and compassion, several officers in patrol volunteered their time, personal vehicles, conducting surveillance, conducting interviews. Their efforts directly resulted in the arrest of a career burglar who was charged with 5 burglaries in Kinnelon and several other towns in Bergen Passaic County. For their work, I'm issuing those officers a Kinnelon Police Certificate for excellent police service. Okay, I have Lieutenant Politano. Sergeant Joseph Padusha. Patrolman Keith Kelly. And Patrolman Douglas Shortway. Sergeant Nick Sifel. There are officers that could not be here tonight. Patrolman Mark Ehrenberg, Sergeant Christopher Burns, Patrolman Matthew Solari. They should be recognized also as part of the group that took the time to do that. Oh, absolutely.
That's the good sign.
The next set of awards is another unit citation for the patrol squad of Sergeant Padusha, Patrolman Christopher Lucci, and Patrolman Matt Solari. On May 23rd, 2014, Patrolman Padusha, Patrolman Christopher Lucci, and Patrolman Matthew Solari responded to a home on a report of a stabbing. Upon arrival, Patrolman Lucci and Solari were met by a male and female outside. Both officers drew their weapons and attempted to question the couple. After receiving confusing information, Officer Lucci covered the male and female as Patrolman Solari approached the front door of the home. Patrolman Solari observed blood on the front foyer and was approached by a male whose torso was covered with blood and had stab wounds to his upper body and neck. The victim indicated that the black male outside the home was one who stabbed him. At that time, they arrested the male outside. Sergeant Padusha arrived and he, Patrolman Lucci, secured the scene while Patrolman Solari administered first aid to the victim. During investigation, determined there was another victim who was stabbed in the hand and leg area. Both victims were transported to the hospital where they survived their injuries. Sergeant Padusha, Patrolman Lucci, Patrolman Solari entered a dangerous, confusing situation, displayed bravery and compassion. All three worked together to arrest the violent offender, treat the wounds, secure the crime scene, and including taking custody of 2 children who were found inside the home. The actions mentioned above, I'm awarding Sergeant Padusha, Patrolman Lucci, and Patrolman Solari the Kinnelon Police Unit Citation. Sergeant Padusha. The next award just kind of displays on, what we often deal on a regular basis, which is you offer time alone for a considerable period of time while other officers are trying to respond to assist you. This award is going to go to Douglas Shortway. I'm going to read exactly what precipitated me issuing this award. On October 13th, 2014, patrol was dispatched to a home for a suicidal male who had taken an overdose of prescription medication and left on foot armed with a knife. Patrolman Shortway arrived on scene and located the male running through the woods. He pursued the male and located him behind a tree, still holding the knife. Patrolman Shortway instructed the male to put down the knife, but he refused and began approaching the officer, stating he wanted to die. At this time, Patrolman Shortway drew his firearm, aiming at the male, and continued to tell him to put down the knife. The male continued to approach the officer with the knife, saying, "What are you going to do? I want to die today." As the male kept approaching Patrolman Shortway, Patrolman Shortway retreated all the time, attempting to convince the male to put down the knife, telling him suicide was not the answer. Patrolman Shortway was able to convince the male to sit down. After negotiating for several more minutes, the male dropped the knife. When backup officers arrived to the scene, the male was taken into custody and treated for the physical effects of the overdose medication. Patrolman Shortway showed tremendous restraint and compassion when dealing with an armed suicidal subject. He was able to utilize his training and experience to de-escalate what could have easily ended as a deadly force situation. Because Patrolman Shortway displayed courage while alone in the woods negotiating the surrender of a man whose life he eventually saved, I'm presenting him with the Kinnelon Medal.
Just before I let our officers and chief go and lieutenant, I want to say I probably should have worn a blue suit tonight, but other than that, over the last several months throughout the country, police departments have come under severe criticism for being police officers. And I think all too often, until you need them, they're the guys that pull you over for speeding on roads. That's not our police department. We have an exceptional department, and the fact that they're willing to pick up a chainsaw and clear out a road, which goes well beyond the duties that probably are expected in their role. The fact that they answer calls and interact with our students and families throughout the town, I think is once again exceptional. But once again, that criticism that is sometimes weaved into our society throughout the rest of the country is not in Kinnelon. I just want the chief and our officers know that you are so well respected and appreciated for the job you do for us every day. And once again, I think the whole community shares my assessment of exactly just how important you are to us. So once again, don't pay attention to what's happening outside of Kinnelon unless you have to, but if you please join me in a round of applause for our officers.
Sure, he gets to shake their hands. We have to grandstand it. It is. Easy planned it down. Good evening, Jen. How are you? Good. I get a different perspective. Hi, Jim. Hi, welcome, sir.
Don't do a demerit.
Oh, I thought you got a gold star for getting the game going.
Can I ask our recording secretary to please read the treasurer's report?
The treasurer's report indicates we started out with cash on hand as of December 31st, 2014 in the amount of $3,419,376.09. Receipts for the month of January totaled $2,041,719.23, with disbursements amounting to $3,760,985.48. The new balance on hand January 31st, 2015 was $1,700,109.84.
Someone offer that, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes.
Councilman Cobell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saventi?
Yes.
Councilman Giantonio?
Yes. I'm going to try to keep my report comments brief this evening because I know that some of our chair people are going to cover some of the same ground. I just want to start with the fact that winter is here, in case you didn't notice, and we've had a little bit of a salt dilemma. I assume that Council President O'Doherty will be reporting on that, but I want to commend the DPW staff and superintendent for getting a little creative for trying to stretch the salt a little bit by mixing it with grits, but please note that it's not specific to Kinnelon. There is a salt problem running through pretty much just about every municipality in the state, so we're working with county officials to once again address their needs within the borough for county roads. But I know that Smoker Eyes Club did put out a notice to its residents a couple days ago, just once again reiterating the fact that salt is now a precious commodity. So hopefully the winter will subside here in the near term. I know that we're cold, but welcome to winter. We reported, or I reported at our work session last week that Pilgrim Pipeline officials are still moving forward with the project to develop a pipeline from Albany down to Linden, and there are a number of municipalities that are opposed to the Pilgrim Pipeline for various reasons, but in support of that, Senator Cody introduced a bill basically asking for parity with existing utility companies so that Pilgrim, in fact, would be subject to some of the same oversight that utilities are subject to, because I know there was some discussion on taking eminent domain for seizing property, private property, and also accessing for surveys. So there was a companion bill as well issued into the Assembly, and we're awaiting action on both those bills, but at this particular point in time, I think our state officials are invested in protecting municipalities and ensuring that we have a voice in the project. I want to report, and Adam may report this as well, because Adam Barish, because he is another member of the Planning Board, but our master plan is currently under review by the Planning Board. It is a daunting task, and I know that the committee members on the Planning Board are taking a serious look at the plan to ensure that it meets the expectation of the borough and works well with our open space plan and our various housing plans as well. So having said that, we're hoping to get a master plan from the Planning Board for the council review hopefully in the next month or so. We're working with our planner, Mr. Burgess, and we'll keep you posted on the master plan. I just want to clarify something that was reported at last meeting that was not completely accurate. It was reported by our finance chair that we have $9 million in outstanding debt. And, we currently have $14 million as of December 31st, 2013, based on the last year's audits, $14,200,000, and we do have about $500 million that is $5,870,000 that is authorized but not issued. So I just want to clarify that point. We work with a lot of numbers up here, but I don't want the public to not have a comfort level that we understand what, in fact, the debt position is of the borough. And in fact, in our first meeting, reorganization meeting of this year, I was very clear about my expectation that moving forward on any ordinances that the public debt will be listed in the ordinance really as part of a disclosure and openness on that issue. But I just want to clarify for the public, once again, we deal with a lot of numbers, but that's one number I think that the public should be aware of, and we do recognize that as part of our outstanding debt. We'll move on now to Recreation. Councilman Frida.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to again apologize for being late. My Recreation basketball team was in the last 4 minutes of the game, and they needed me, but they weren't able to pull it out. And again, it was the kids, it wasn't the coach. But No, but I actually did leave 5 minutes to go in the game, and we were down by 4, so hopefully they're winning right now. But, recreation winter sports are in the home stretch right now. We have over 300 boys and girls playing recreation sports this winter. Basketball, a lot of our games were snowed out, especially on Mondays for some reason this year, but they've all been rescheduled. We're looking for our March Mayhem tournament. As Councilman Barish mentioned to me, March Madness is copyrighted, so I changed it to March Mayhem. So we're gonna start off because all our recreation basketball teams are all after college teams. So we're gonna create like a March Madness type of attitude towards the playoffs. So we're excited for that. Wrestling, they completed 2 very large home meets. Over 100 wrestlers attended each event. Wrestling is doing very well. We just sent out the football helmets for reconditioning, so that'll be done. We will also be holding a concussion safety seminar for coaches and for interested parents. All spring sports are now being done through the registration process. Boys lacrosse will close soon. Baseball, softball, and Colts, Junior Colts are all in process right now. So just go to kinnelonborough.org and go on the recreation link. Summer camp this year will run for 3 weeks from June 29th to July 17th. New this year, we'll have 2 time options from 9 to 12:30 or 9 to 3 o'clock. And then hopefully next summer we will be able to change it to 5 weeks. This year it's 3 weeks because OLM, Our Lady Magnificat, has a CCD camp which is well attended, but this will be their last year of doing this CCD camp. We're also looking for some different teen adventure camps we're going to be doing this year, and that will be camps for the older kids from high school age, possibly going to Mountain Creek for the day and Dorney Park, etc. So we're working on that with Melanie. The DPW was able to get the fields fertilized and seeded prior to the first snowstorm of the season, so hopefully that'll perk up the grass when the snow melts, if it ever melts. Recreation Commissioner Rick Millis has been elected as Rec Commission Chairperson. He's a very hands-on volunteer, and I'm excited and I wish him luck. And as far as Camelot is concerned, proud to announce that Camelot received a $10,000 or $10,300 grant. So I want to thank Olga for that, Olga Gahuli and Christy Perud, for working on the application, which we realize anything that goes through the county is like a 40-page application. So thank you for them for their time and effort, and $10,000 for the children to educate them on the dangers of drugs. So I'm very happy for that. And lastly, K-Fest. This year will be October 10th and 11th is the rain date. So hopefully we won't need the 11th. But again, it's going to be our Main Street theme. Kinnelon Road will be closed down for the day, or for most of the day, for K-Fest. And Mayor, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And now moving on to Public Works and Utilities, Council President O'Doherty.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, I'd like to report on utilities first, Mayor, that we did have 2 water main breaks in the borough, one on Keel Avenue where we replaced a 12-inch, 8 feet of 12-inch ductile iron pipe, which actually shut down the mall there for a period of time, not this weekend, the weekend prior to this. And that was done in the middle of the night, and the DPW naturally did a fantastic job. The second one was yesterday with the municipal building here, the parking lot right in front of our library here was disrupted by a water main break, and it's only 15 years old, and the bolts in the valve system rotted out, caused it to pump right out of the ground. We're probably going to have a sinkhole out there that we're going to have to repair. That was part of the construction of this building and the library that was done only 15 years ago, so whatever there was a faulty valve put in there, it's very unusual. So we're hoping that some other issues don't pop up from some things like that. As far as our DPW report goes, We only responded 11 times this past month for snow and ice conditions with 25 inches and 2 inches of ice. And we are repairing potholes. If you do see a nuisance pothole that might damage vehicles, please contact Jennifer Mans, our secretary of our DPW, and we will get out and fix it if we know where it is. We've cleared all the roads, and we did hire subcontractors this past month to come in and clear some intersections for line of sight to make it safe for people at intersections. So, and we've also sent crews out to shovel out fire hydrants if you do have them in your neighborhood. Also, I'd like to report on our construction of our DPW facility. I know that we went out to bid for it. We did receive a low bid. We had asked the architect to evaluate the situation. He came back with a very positive report. I'm sure all the council members received that, stating that he felt that it was the contractor that actually provided the bid, the lowest bid, which is approximately $1.4 million, did an excellent job. He feels that they can perform the duties and complete that project. So, and people, I'm sure, are concerned, why do we need this building? Well, we do have a stormwater act in the state. We're not housing our vehicles. When they are housed in this new facility, there's an oil separator that will be put into the system where we can clean our vehicles inside and get rid of that salt that's on the vehicles and preserve the vehicles. Our original garage was built in 1966. Has all the original furnaces and doors in it. We really need an upgrade. There's 12 vehicles currently, 4 tractors and 2 leaf truck vacuums, 1 chipper and a towable generator that is stored outside with a current value of about $700,000 for that equipment, which is rotting away outside. Current value of it, if we had to replace them, would cost $1.2 million. Also, we have trailers outside, riding lawnmowers, weed whackers, asphalt compactors, pumps, line painters, spreaders, tar pots, and other miscellaneous equipment that would cost us $100,000 to replace. The new facility would bring us into compliance and protect the equipment from the elements. Also allow vehicles to be loaded and ready for any type of emergency. As you heard, we go out and repair water mains, and we do different things. So I think it's an ideal time that we do go into this. Could we possibly get this at a lesser value? With just a steel building without putting concrete up 4 feet to protect it from the salt? Possibly we could get a lesser building, but it also, the longevity of it would not be the same as if we went out and we purchased this, what we went out to bid for, which is substantially less than what we did last time. So we're looking forward, hopefully, that the council does approve that we do go out and we approve this bid and give it to this contractor. I don't know if we vote on that tonight, Mayor.
Mark, the architect has completed its review and issued a report. Are we in a position to make an award tonight?
We are, unless there's further discussion, either about modifications or changes. I've reviewed the bid documents. I'm satisfied with the response, the bonds, etc. The architect has reviewed the bids for some of those nitty-gritty items that Dan is talking about. If it's the council's pleasure, they can certainly award that bid this evening.
Mayor, we might want to hear from the public if they have any concerns or issues, so we might want to wait till after we hear from the public.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll complete our committee reports, hear from the public, and then, you know, if we're at a discussion point, we can talk about taking action. Okay?
Yes. And we're trying to keep the snow down to a limit the rest of the month, Mayor, but it doesn't look too promising for this weekend and for next week. So, at any rate, Mayor, that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dan. I want to tell you that weather people are great, and if you ever need a job in the Weather Bureau, Dan, I'll write your recommendation, okay?
Thanks. Good. You know what? I like that kind of job, because you could be wrong most of the time.
Exactly. But, you know, great job with DPW again, so thank you so much. Moving on now to Public Safety and Technology, Councilman Barish.
Thank you, Mayor. As we just saw before, we're very proud of the Kinnelon Police Department and its its officers. I don't know if you noticed the dates on some of those. They go back a year plus, but it was really nice to see them all recognized for going above and beyond, as they often do. So that was my pleasure to join them with that. I have a little bit of a report on the servers and the information technology, the IT related to that. I'm going to put that in my technology report. Lastly, on police, as you said before, that our thoughts and prayers go out to the family from the tragedy this week. That's what we want to say on that. As far as the fire department goes, there was 14 alarms for January. They ask, as always, after the amount of snow that we're getting, is help the DPW out, help the firefighters out, and please make sure you clear around your fire hydrants. Also to report, refurbishment of our engine 22 is underway. That's our engine that carries 1,250 gallons. It was 1991, and that is being refurbished and should give us another 15 years of service. They also asked that we share the pancake breakfast. Will be held on Palm Sunday, March 29th, for the annual spring pancake breakfast. Triborough First Aid Squad said that they're still in need of members. They're always looking for people. There's only one, like we said, from Kinnelon at this point. They're running a first aid class beginning March 2nd, and that's currently up on the Borough Facebook page. As far as technology, we're working with our vendor to upgrade both the servers for the Borough and for the police department. For the Borough, it's a little bit simpler because we can combine different aspects, the accounting software, possibly email all onto one server, looking at about $15,000 for that. The police department was a little bit more complicated and will need more, about $30,000 worth of equipment that hasn't been touched in many years, and it's really band-aided together. They need to be isolated and firewalled from just about everything. They're connected to the county court system, the state court system, the state police, so they require their own standalone server. They need their own in-house email. That can't be going to the cloud. So we're still collecting data on that. We're going to report back to the committee and then to the full council at the next workshop as far as where that stands. The marquees, hopefully everybody's had a chance to see them out in front. There's been mixed reviews on those as far as being too bright, too flashy, too fast, too slow. Can't read them, can read them. So at least we're in business. We're sharing information. We were able to announce that this meeting was taking place all week, which was nice to see. We're encouraging people to sign up for rec programs. We're encouraging people to go to the Borough Facebook page and fill out our unscientific first poll to try to direct us a little bit on the website, which we'll report on next. So just look for changes in the fonts, changes in the speed, changes as far as how we blend from one message to the next. And certainly feel free to call us at the clerk's office or get me directly as far as feedback, how well you're reading it or how much information is being presented. The plan is to come up with a guideline as far as what the fonts are going to be, what the colors are going to be, so we can get the library and the borough on the same page. People will know what the rules are as far as getting their message out there as needed. On the website, we've made progress since the last meeting where we approved the vendor. We are collecting data. I've made presentations to the Historical Commission, the Open Space Advisory Committee, the Rec Commission. Everybody's very excited to launch the new site. We're probably about 120 days out. We need to start sketching what we want it to look like. It's going to be photo heavy, as most of Web.2 seems to be doing. We're starting to collect the photos and whatnot. The Historical Commission has volunteered a number of photos to kind of highlight and decorate each of the pages in all the departments. We're going to also work on a digital social media policy. Mr. Medeo, our attorney, had given us some advice on that, and we should have something to present to the committee in the next week or so, and then hopefully bring back to the council again at the next work session. One last item that I'm working on for technology, and I have nothing to report on yet other than I'm working on this. I was unable to attend this meeting of JAG, Jersey Access Group, this last month. But I did, however, reach out to the schools, and I made contact with Mr. DeWall in the Broadcast Media Center over there, and I'm exploring how we could take advantage of our PEG channel, which is, I think, Channel 77 in Kinnelon, Public Education Government Channel, in order to create a multi-pronged plan so that we can use TV along with Facebook, Twitter, the website, the borough marquees, e-newsletters, e-notifications, the borough calendar, and of course this channel, so that we can communicate no matter what your age or whether you're digital or old-fashioned newspaper. We'll get the word out to you. That was it on public access TV, and the mayor has briefed you already on the master plan, so that relieves me of my planning board report. So with that, thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear us in the back. I know that sometimes if you can't, just raise your hand. We'll shout into the microphones for you, okay? Thank you, Adam. Now moving on to Finance, Councilman Cobell.
Thank you. With reference to Mayor said $9 million, I thought I had said different numbers than that, like $7 million in bans and $4 million in long-term financing, but if I misspoke from memory at the time, I apologize. The annual debt statement and our annual financial statement have been completed and are signed, and if they haven't been filed with Trenton, they will be shortly. And they are both available on the website. Some of the highlights from those statements are annual financial statement indicate, and this is of course the annual financial statement hasn't been audited yet, so there is always the chance or possibility that when the auditor is done there may be some changes, but our surplus, we ended the year with about $2.3 million in surplus. We began with $1.6 million in surplus. We committed $750,000 of that to the 2014 budget, and during 2014 we regenerated about approximately $1.3 million in surplus. With regard to the annual debt statement, exclusive of the utility fund, we have about $12.7 million in debt. State law permits us to borrow 3.5% of our annual assessed, our average assessed value, which stands at $2,091 million. We're, as opposed to 3.5%, we're at 0.857% of debt, which is about 24% of our allowable debt, and that's, I think, the conversation I was trying to work on last month with, just out of memory. So I think I said 30% was the approximate number last month, but now having the numbers in front of me, it's approximately 24% that were borrowed. So with the annual financial statement being completed, we can go to work on the budget, and the committee will be meeting with the numbers we have from the annual financial statement and the budget requests from all the departments, and hopefully within the next month to 6 weeks we'll have a pretty good budget, a good handle on the budget for 2015. So, thank you.
Do you want to update the public on our CFO search?
Well, the committee did meet with several candidates, and we recommended that one of these candidates be interviewed by the entire governing body, and I think that's going to happen. So.
Thanks, Steve. Now moving on to coordinating in open space. Councilwoman Sventi.
Thank you, Mayor. First up, I'd like to report on the Board of Health. They met this month, and their nurses are working with preschools regarding the care of children with asthma. They're working on a strategic plan for the next 5 years, and Angela Marcoli, will be representing the Board of Health on this committee. 891 dogs have been licensed thus far this year, and the food pantry has been very busy. Approximately 10 families per week are using it regularly. The Library Board of Trustees. The Girl Scout Madeline Florio presented her Gold Star project to the trustees at their January meeting. Her project, called Speak Up, will concentrate on raising awareness throughout the community regarding the care and responsibility for animals, both domestic and wild. Also at our workshop meeting last week, Library Director Sam Farrow and his 6-month-old son Adam presented the trustees' annual report. He stressed 3 main items. First, the first balanced budget in 5 years, now projected for 2015. They overcame a deficit as low as $143,000 in 2012. The trustees would like to acknowledge and thank the mayor and council The switch to better value medical benefits coverage for both the borough employees and for our library employees was a key contributor in reducing their deficit. They also successfully concluded negotiations with the RWDSU Local 108 and signed a 3-year contract. And they established the Kinnelon Library Legacy Foundation, KLLF, which will extend their fundraising capability and will replenish their reserve fund. The Historical Commission has 3 resolutions on the consent agenda tonight, which will allow them to submit a grant to the county requesting $339,400 for Phase 2 of their restoration project. This is once again an 80-20 split grant, 80% or $271,520 from the county, matched by 20% or $67,880 from the borough's Open Space, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Trust Fund. We will be welcoming 2 new commissioners to our Environmental Commission tonight, Mr. Scott Simpner and James Lorkowski. I look forward to working with them and the rest of the committee for the balance of this year. And for the Board of Education, I've been in touch with the Borough Board of Ed's business administrator, Carrie Keene, who informed me that they have met with Masser Engineering. Masser Engineering is the firm that they have chosen to help with the artificial turf project across the street at the high school. They're having a meeting next week. I have reached out to both the coordinating committee members, Mr. Frieda and Mr. O'Doherty. The meeting will be next Tuesday at the Board of Ed offices. They want to stay on track with a timeline to complete this project by September 1st of 2015. I'm a little disheartened that I have to call Board of Ed and constantly ask for updates instead of being included in the conversation. I think if the borough is paying for that, that they should, for a majority of this, that we should be included in the conversation from day one. I had several questions. There was also a questionnaire that Masser Engineering had sent to the Board of Ed, and in reviewing that, I'd like to review that with both the rest of the coordinating committee before we meet with them, because I have some questions that perhaps you can answer and before we go into that meeting. And then finally, I think that is the end of my report for now, Mayor.
Thank you, Carol. Now moving on to Personnel and Ordinance, Councilman Giantonio.
Thank you very much, Mayor. On personnel, as the council knows, we've been meeting with the union representatives for the town hall personnel for a while now. Unfortunately, it's a slow process because we will go meet with them, and then whatever proposals they have, we have to come back to the council to discuss, and then we go back to them with our responses. But we are making slow but steady progress. This past week, the Personnel Committee met with our labor attorney, Brian Giblin, to work through some more information that we need for our next meeting with the union representatives. I was tasked with getting some information for Mr. Giblin, which I am in the process of getting, and hopefully that step will bring us one step closer to finalizing this agreement. Regarding the tree ordinance, I had given our attorney, Mark Medeo, I won't even say a copy of a rough draft. It was just a copy of the status or the current version of the tree ordinance to review, just to give the once-over to make sure that everything looked legally sufficient at this point. And he did say, in his opinion, that everything I've added and taken out of the ordinance so far seems appropriate. I think my next step is going to be, again, meeting with the Ordinance Committee to go over the current version of the ordinance and see what other thoughts we have as to how we can finalize it. Our reappointed prosecutor, Ralph Ava, is off to a good start for the new year. I checked in with him again, and everything seems to be going well. About 2 weeks ago, I had presented our variance summary to the Board of Adjustment. They said they will take it under advisement. I hope to have a response from them at their next meeting. And finally, and I know we have a couple of parents of town athletes here in the audience tonight. so this is of particular interest to them. We are coming up with a recreation code of conduct for all adults and participants that come to athletic events in town. And I believe we have finalized that version with the input of the Rec Commission, and that should be presented to the Commission next month. Hopefully they will approve it, and then we'll be able to bring it to the board, or the council, and get their approval. And that is the end of my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Cliff. Now moving on to hearing from the public. Anyone from the public wish to be heard, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and welcome.
Randall Charles, 69 Green Hill Road. I guess I'm in a time warp between last Thursday's workshop session and today, going through my notes based on last week. Regarding the DPW building, Dan, if you could clarify that for the record, how much did we bond for the construction of this new design of this new building?
Actually, we have approximately $1.6 million towards the building.
That's not what you said last week. You said 1.1.
I thought it was 1.1. I did an analysis of it. We had Jennifer do that this week, who is our temporary CFO right now. She did analysis of it, and she said that we have 1.6 million available for that.
Oh, I think that's important to let the public know that, because I think there were some concerns, because there was a lengthy discussion last week.
I know there are some concerns. When you look at the firehouse that we did at 1.1 million, we're about 4 times larger than that.
There's no argument on that. But there was a lengthy discussion within the council last Thursday. It's only a week ago.
I did not believe that we had enough bonded for it, but I found out that now.
Is there a confirmation on that?
Yeah, we had our treasurer and DPW director went over. Part of the problem, and not problem, part of it is when we write bonds for improvements, several items are mentioned together to give us flexibility on spending within the bonds. And there were 2 separate bond issues, actually. There was a bond that totaled $792,300. That was an initial bond for the DPW garage, but it also included some other equipment. So they took some time to break out how much the other equipment was. And then there was a $1.144 million bond that included the DPW garage, but there was also a generator and some other equipment in there. So we had them do an analysis on what was available, and the balance of those 2 bonds that can be used for the DPW garage right now stands at about $1.6 million.
Wasn't one of the bonds rescinded last year and reissued?
No. I think you're thinking of the revaluation bond that we...
Right, just want to be sure, because, I mean, the council really beat themselves up last Thursday for apparently no reason. So I look at it.
Okay.
And it's really sad, but I'm glad it's rectified. So there is funding available within the bond issue that was issued last fall that covers the construction of the new design of this DPW building.
That's correct.
They will not be going back to the taxpayers for any additional funding.
That's correct.
For the record. All right. Second point. Same thing. Jim, on your report last Thursday, Mazer Engineering and the Board of Education have moved ahead and submitted an application to the Highlands Council for an exemption, right? Correct?
Correct.
For the record, because that wasn't stated tonight.
For the record.
For the record. So the audience knows, and it's reported, that it's moving forward.
Correct.
Okay. Senator Hill, again, just issued an update on SB 47 in California. If you need copies, I'll give it to you. It is moving forward to committee in California. They are putting a moratorium in on new fields that are made out of artificial turf fields out of recycled tires until a comprehensive health study is conducted. Why in God's name are we still moving forward with an artificial turf field with tire crumb until this issue isn't settled? In Senator Hill's latest release 2 weeks ago, Coach Griffin updated everybody. And it's very sad what's going on across the country. She's identified 126 athletes now being diagnosed with cancer from playing on artificial turf fields.
It's been proven that they got it from the fields?
They can't come back and find out where they got the cancer, going through the family history, locale where they live.
Does that study happen to give the 126 as a percentage of the whole number of athletes, and is that greater than the general population?
Well, that's like saying how come we're still doing cigarettes cause cancer if you base it on the size of the population of smoke. You're deflecting. This is a directory. All they're doing is compiling. And right now, 109 are soccer players. This is new. 10 are football players. 6 are field hockey and lacrosse. And the cancer they've identified, they've been diagnosed, unfortunately, with, is 51 lymphomas, 19 leukemias, 10 brain, 9 testicular, 9 sarcoma, 6 thyroid. The list is growing. Congressman Steve Israel in Long Island, New York, is moving forward with, on his side in New York. Today, the peer group filed this federal lawsuit against the Consumer Safety Products Commission for dragging their heels on conducting studies and issuing warnings based on their own protocol on products that came in from China. They have to go back and look at all children under the age 12, playground equipment, swings, and they're all rated. Well, the CSPC hasn't done that. They've had a year. They just got sued today. And the suit is focusing on artificial fields using tire waste, tire crumb. This is a national issue. And I still don't understand how we can not put the children's health and safety utmost right now and wait to see what plays out. If it's safe, hey, I'm the first person. Jim, I'll be out there with you. I'll help you move a wheelbarrow. But to move forward without having this see its way through on a federal level is unconscionable. We need fields, but we need safe fields long term. Cancer doesn't happen overnight in most cases. This is taking decades. What happens now, and I love this, you have the freedom of choice, and we all have it, but we are responsible for the consequences of our choices. Think about it. What may look right now, and we heard it, tobacco, asbestos, lead, now what's the new one? Vaginal mesh. You don't know until it's tested and plays itself out. We have options right now. We're sitting on $700,000 in grant money. Tom Klein should be here tonight. I don't know why he wasn't invited. The public should have heard his presentation last week. We're sitting on $700,000 in grant money that's going to expire by the end of the year.
You know what, and as Thomas stated, it's other people's tax money. Other people's tax money we have a right to go and spend?
It's grant money that you apply.
But it's still people's tax money.
Don't change it. It's grant money. And you're saying we shouldn't take any money for anybody else that we apply for. Not for the police department, not for public safety, not for fire prevention. That's what you're saying, Dan.
We still have a responsibility for that money also.
That money is money that's granted.
And it should be spent wisely. And I'm not sure that the property that we're going for is the right piece. Now that there's another problem with that title, with that property, and they want the borough to assume that we clear that title. I heard that through...
Who says we're limited to that piece of property?
It is.
No, you know, you're right. Mr. Klein has, and the Open Space Advisory Committee has mentioned a lot of potential properties, and we've discussed all of them. And some of the properties they've mentioned aren't for sale. And we've approached owners. I mean, the church property, we've looked at that. Can't seem to make a deal on that, as hard as the mayor's met with them. We've looked at all those properties.
And maybe it's time to go outside and have some other people get involved. But to move forward, so you're saying move forward in light of all the safety issues occurring around the nation. You're saying the devil with the kids' health, we're going to put an artificial turf field in with tire crumb. That's what you're saying. Think about it. The liability is on you have consequences on your decisions. God forbid, I wouldn't want my child, and I'm sure none of you do either, want to be accountable in 10, 15 years if somebody comes down with a cancer and they can't link it to a family situation, genetics, food, whatever. Think about it. That's what you're doing right now. It's particularly in light of what most of this town doesn't want. An artificial turf, our money on the high school field. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Think about it. The onus is on you. The responsibility is on you.
Bob Lewis, 37 Gravel Hill Road. I interviewed for position on the Open Space and Recreation Commission. Had an extensive interview, submitted my resume, and I just want to know, I just kind of want to answer where I stand or if I'm going to get on it. I think I'd really represent the town well. I think the town could use a different voice, somebody with some energy, and I think I'd really help the town. And so I interviewed, submitted a resume, just want to know where it stands.
You had actually sent an email to the council, Bob, asking for a resolution to appoint you, and I think that you were informed that ultimately that's not the process, it's a mayoral appointment. We identified the fact there are a number of openings on other committees, including the Open Space Committee, and I was hoping that we could bring it back to the work session next week. I have not made a decision on, moving forward on appointment with you at this particular point in time, but once again, I know that Councilman Frieda brought up the point that there's additional openings, so I'm going to ask you basically to bear with us for another month. I want to give the council a chance to talk about it. I know you went through the process of interviewing, but once again, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. I'd like to go forward here in a collaborative manner. So at this particular point in time, a decision had not been made on appointing you at this particular point in time. I know the committee came back and appointed or recommended the appointment of Tammy Rosilius, who serves on our planning board. That committee is constructed in such a way that we have to have certain members from the public and committees both basically serving in that capacity. So I'm going to ask the committee, council really, just to engage in conversation about your request next month, and we'll have a decision for you in March.
Well, I think we left it at the work session that we were going to handle this tonight.
I don't think that we finished the conversation. I was waiting for a recommendation back from the Open Space Committee. You made the point that any appointment not done within 30 days comes under the purview of the council. I don't know if that's correct or not. At this particular point in time, it is. So then why do we go?
I don't know that this is again, we're still in a public comment.
Right.
So perhaps public comment has been made. I believe you've received an answer. Why don't we conclude public comment, and then if there's a debate about a substantive issue, we can deal with that in the normal course of
Let the public finish, and then we'll conduct our business.
Public finish and get heard first, if that's okay with that.
Okay, but once again, you asked me the question. I have not made a decision, and it's a mayoral appointment with the advice and consent or the confirmation of council. And as Councilman Cobell thinks that...
Can I ask who the other applicants are?
Sure. There was one other applicant for the Open Space Committee. That was Tammy Rosilius, who serves on the Planning Board. The Open Space Committee has a requirement that someone from the Planning Board serve on that committee, the Public Advisory Committee.
And there's also the high school student.
And the high school student.
Okay.
If I'm
I hope after the
understanding,
public...
there's also 2 open spaces from the public. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's why I thought we were going to take it under conversation and discussion next
Tonight.
week. But
It was supposed to be tonight. That
well,
we
I thought
decided next week.
I may have it wrong, but I was looking for input from the Open Space Committee. They basically came back and recommended Tammy Roselius, and I think that we basically got some information on that today. I understand the council is invested in moving forward with Mr. Lewis's appointment. Without going through a little bit more conversation, I'm not in a position to do that. But once again, majority rules here, and I don't vote if there's not a tie. So that's the answer.
Okay.
Mayor, before we go, I just wanted to comment just real quick about the turf field. I did reach out to New York, has a Senator Parker that is actually pushing the same bill that Mr. Charles talks about that California is doing. Usually when California does bills, I usually hold back from, looking at them because a lot of them are pretty ludicrous that California does. But New York is doing the same thing. They want turf fields inspected for cancer-causing materials in the chrome rubber. So I sent a letter or an email to Senator Parker and said, I read your I guess, resolution or ordinance or whatever, I don't know what they would call it at the state level, that you want turf fields tested for cancer, and that they have till June to get the information on your desk. So I said to him, we're definitely considering it in Kinnelon, and as soon as you get that information, I would like it forwarded to us here at Kinnelon. Did I get an answer back from Senator Parker? No. But I will continue to bother the man until he gives me a response. I got the automated response of, hey, Senator Parker's received your email, he'll get back to you soon.
So he has the New York DEP doing the study?
I assume, to be honest, Adam, I read it real quick. I don't know who's actually doing the study. I'm assuming if it's done by them, yeah, it would be. I think he has New York Board of Health.
Okay.
But I have looked at past studies from the New York Board of Health, and they've said there's zero, lead in the tires and cancer-causing materials. Is this a decision I want to make, thinking that children are getting cancer out there? I mean, I look at it and I say there's too many different types of cancer and too many different things that are just, I just can't see how you can just tie it to one thing. You could say that all those children are getting cancer because they all sit at a wooden chair in school. If you're looking for all relevant things they do together to decide what causes cancer, half of the problems in our society would be solved. So I like to hear concrete information, not just, let's make an assumption because 120 kids, they all play soccer, a couple play football, but, we haven't had a professional football player or a professional soccer player or anything in a professional sport with cancer because of turf fields. But, the children supposedly are getting it because there's people out there that are trying to tie it into why they shouldn't have a turf field. But like I said, I am reaching out for the information. It will be here in June, hopefully, and at that point, if they can concrete tell me that causes cancer, of course I would not put that in Kinnelon. But
I would just like to add to that, Jim, if you don't mind. You mentioned that they're testing for lead. Are they testing for other chemicals and substances that are also in the crumb rubber? That would be a question for the senator.
Yeah.
And also, pardon me?
It's crumb rubber? Is that
Crumb.
Crumb. I'm sorry, I might have said...
crumb cake.
Yeah, that was probably the way I said it, Mark. I apologize.
Also, I get the impression from looking at various studies that over the years, we all know that it's not artificial, it's not the product that was back in the 60s. It keeps changing from year to year. And I get the impression in reading on various studies and reports that it's almost like a shell game. They keep improving the product before they can finish testing the previous product. So that's also a concern that you might want to ask the senator when you're talking to him.
Okay. But I mean, the only thing that stays the same is the crumb rubber. I do say crumb rubber, Mark. Crumb rubber. That's what does stay the same. And I don't know. I looked at corn husk and a cork.
Cork.
And I did some research on that, and that adds $130,000 to the project cost.
I just want to remind the council that we're really deviating from the agenda a little bit. We're supposed to be hearing from the public at this particular point in time. I think we'll have an opportunity to talk about turf and cancer at some point in time. So I appreciate the comments, but once again, I don't want to not continue with the public portion of the meeting. So,
All right, well, I was just answering the public on his point, and I'm sure there's more coming
okay, thank you, Jim.
in about 30 seconds.
Not even.
Jack Glazer, 68 Green Hill Road. I appreciate Jim's comments because those are the kind of things we want to hear. We want to see some concern from the council, and apparently there is some concern for the health and safety of the kids of Kinnelon and other kids that play on our artificial turf. So that's good news. The other half of it is the cost of it. Some of us who were at the meeting last week were quite surprised, pleasantly surprised to hear that Kinnelon were awarded $700,000 for a grant for open space. All taxpayers pay into that, and many towns take advantage of it. Dan, I don't know why you would be concerned about it. I think it's something that's out there for the purpose of purchasing and making use of open space, and if we have a need, why wouldn't we take advantage of it?
Well, I'm going to tell you exactly. Because there is a cost to open space. As I stated last week, there's a cost to open space. We're 52% preserved right now in our community, and it affects our ratables. Anytime that we purchase open space, our ratables decline because it comes off our tax rolls. That would be a major concern right now. That would be my only reason, because we have so much land that is preserved. And I'm not saying that open space doesn't want to preserve that good pieces of land. I'm not so sure that this is a good piece of land to preserve.
Well, we don't know which piece of land, quite frankly, should be considered. Randy and I met with Tom, and we have volunteered to work with him, recognizing time is of the essence. It looks like Cheryl Canali will be working with him also. We only have until September if we want to take advantage of that money for the benefit of the town.
But just if I can interject a couple things, Jack. These are multiple grants, so it's just not a single grant. The $700,000 is really compiled of 3 separate applications, and the grants can be used for both passive and active recreation. So it's just not open space. It can also be for active recreation development as well. So that's under the guise of really the planning incentive grants from the Green Acres program at the state. I disagree with Councilman O'Doherty on the cost of open space. And Jack is a environmentally organization that really puts forth, I think, some pretty comprehensive reports. They've indicated that actually investing in open space is a very good investment, that actually you save $1.46 for every dollar invested in open space, because you're not providing for infrastructure, additional police services. So open space is and will continue to be an excellent investment, but I think the question that comes about is really under the guise of the open space plan, really what are our targeted goals, and at what point in time do we say that we're comfortable with the amount of open space we have, and do we in fact want to redirect that open space effort. And I think that's really the conversation, not whether or not it's a good investment. I've argued, and it's supported by a number of organizations and associations, it's a great investment. And I think that if you look back at our open space plan, the survey that was done years ago, people want open space in Kinnelon. They want our scenic vistas preserved. They want our aquifer preserved. There's so many arguments really to do what we have been doing with open space. But once again, I think the question is really one of at what targeted goals do we feel that ultimately we're in a more stewardship role than an acquisition role. And I think that's really the question at hand. And there are a number of pieces of property, I think, that have been identified by the Open Space Advisory Committee, and as Steve reported, in a lot of those situations, there just haven't been willing sellers. But that doesn't mean you don't stop the effort.
Let me ask Jim.
Can I answer? Sure. Since designating, though, since April of 2004, Kinnelon has been arbitrarily designated as Highlands area, therefore making most properties worthless, that can't develop it. So therefore we have properties that we're acquiring that aren't going to be developed anyway, that we proceed to spend tax dollars on acquiring, which because of Highlands Act, are non-buildable. They're non-buildable pieces of property. And we're spending top dollars on them that the Highlands Act, unfortunately, to those that have owned it, have.
To Dan's point, that ANJAC study, at $1.46 on a dollar, I'd be curious, and it may not be, but I'd be curious if that applies to a municipality that's within the Highlands as we are, and that's already 52% open space. And with our particular geography and demographic, that statistics, it may apply to the state, but I don't know if it applies to Kinnelon.
Well, those are things we're going to have to look into. But
absolutely.
Jim, let me ask you, would you prefer to have several additional natural fields for our recreation program, or would you rather have one field with artificial turf on it that we have to share with the Board of Education?
I mean, right now, by looking at what I've looked at and researched, I'm looking at that artificial turf field as our only option because there is no land available.
I didn't ask you that. I said if you have a choice.
What's your druthers?
If you have a choice of several more natural fields or one artificial across the street here.
Right. I would say one artificial.
You'd rather have one artificial?
Yes.
Why?
It's more usable, more durable.
How many teams would be able to use that field?
Okay, hold on. This is, we're dialoguing a lot in public.
Okay.
He's supposed to tell us something.
I have this.
Or maybe ask a question.
No. Listen, Mark, I have this. Okay, once again, I think the conversation, I'm trying to get the involvement of the council, but once again, I think that this is your opportunity to talk to us and address us, so before we just enter into a disjointed conversation here. So, Jim, you were answering the question, so I think that you have your response, Jack, to that.
I got the impression from a couple meetings ago, as a result of meeting with someone who's expert in grass technology, from his experiences with golf courses, that there's a lot that can be done with the new technologies for fields. And we haven't taken advantage of it. Shame on us. And that's a whole other question, an issue that someday we got to deal with. But in the meantime, it's quite apparent to me that there's a lot of opportunity for very durable fields with the new technologies in grass seeds, care, so on and so forth. And you led us to believe that's what you heard. Am I right?
That there's more durable grass?
More durable grass, care, so on and so forth, to provide longer lasting, more durable fields that'll hold up much better.
Yeah, if you fertilize correctly and everything else.
Yeah,
but
all that stuff.
I'll give you an example right now. Our lacrosse team will start practicing March 1st on a turf field, and it won't start it's not allowed onto our grass field until probably the third week of April. So we'll be, if we waited for just the grass, we would be 4 to 5 weeks behind all the other teams that we compete against. So we are one of the only towns in Morris County that does not have a turf field.
The other issue is the cost, and where are we getting the money from, and that came up at the last meeting with the discussion on how much debt we have. We're very concerned about spending that kind of money on artificial turf. I say we, the residents, the taxpayers of this town. We've told you this, and we've told you this, and we've told you this. You don't want to listen to us. Why don't you want to listen to the residents? Aren't you representative of us?
Is this directed me?
To Jim.
Is that a comment or?
It's a question.
Mark, please, I understand.
Okay.
You're sitting there as the attorney, not the mayor, okay? Once again, listen, we've talked about decorum at these meetings, we've talked about entering into constructive conversation, so I understand you're directing it, I guess, unilaterally to everybody here, Jack, and I appreciate that. Just once again, I want to make sure that we maintain a certain decorum here, okay? So.
Go ahead. Am I answering or not?
Sure, yeah.
Oh. I mean, from the very beginning, I've said use the open space recreation dollars. There's money in that account. It could be done tax-free, and there is no tax increase. I'm not saying take the tax. This is money that's already sitting in an account.
For the artificial turf.
Yes.
Well, it's open space recreation
space,
and
recreation,
historical trust
historical
fund. It's
trust.
there. It's not earmarked at this time
So that would
for
have to
anything.
be investigated to see if that's, if we're capable of doing it. We don't know that for a fact, I assume.
We have our
attorney told
our
us.
attorney's opinion on it.
And we have other opinions that say you cannot use open space tax dollars for that purpose, so
Yeah.
there's an ongoing conversation.
I've seen actual statements on that particular issue and from the state, and they say no. So I'm not really sure where you get your expertise from.
You can certainly use open space recreation funds for a turf field. The question arises, can you use it for a turf field on leased property?
Right. Well, that's what we're
And
talking about.
that question, I believe, and I've advised the council, is not settled firmly either way. I believe you can. There are other opinions that believe you can't. The council will make a decision based on their understanding of all opinions out there and make a determination about it.
Well, we hope there'll be a determination from the council on this shortly, so we know where you're going, which direction you're going with
Well, as we said in the past,
the funds to
we won't
pay
make
for
a
this
decision
artificial
until
turf.
we get past the permits and know what the cost will be. We still have no idea of cost.
Jack, I'm going to ask you a question, because you've expressed some interest in basically, I think, being involved with open space. Would you be willing to serve on the Open Space Committee, Open Space Public Advisory Committee? Because if I'm going to be held to a 30-day appointment window here, I'm well beyond that. Since you have, in fact, expressed some interest, if we're going to have some conversation and you tell me that you're interested, that's a conversation I would have with the council after we close to public hearing piece.
Being a member of the Board of Health takes enough of my time.
Okay.
I'm sure there's other people that might be interested. I'd prefer to see them.
Okay, well, I just wanted you to have the opportunity.
I want to work with Tom separately, as Randy does,
Okay.
and I think Cheryl Canale, but not for the purpose of a permanent assignment.
Okay, well, I just wanted to see if you had any interest, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening?
Elizabeth Koch, 3 Cliff Trail. I just have one, well, maybe 2 comments, but I'll be really fast. For Mr. Frito, when you said you sent an email to this senator in New York, I would caution you and point out, I'm happy that you're doing that, but most of the tests that have been done on artificial turf up to now have been extremely limited in scope and not very useful. The EPA test itself, it's been on a very small sample, which is not adequate because the crumb rubber that you're talking about apparently is unique every tire manufacturer has their own proprietary formula that they don't give out, so every blend you get is different. So you could test one field in Montville and test another field in Chatham, and they would not be the same kind of material, okay? So you cannot base the safety on maybe some limited random sampling that they're doing. The other thing has to do with the weather conditions and the climate where the field is actually located. So if you have excessive heat or a lot of rain or different weather conditions, it very much affects the testing. So to date, apparently there have not been any really large overarching studies done that could guarantee this safe as a safe product or as a non-safe product. So I would just caution you that a lot of these tests that are being done are not really very helpful, okay? The second point is you just were talking about you were in favor of using open space funding to do this. And I also just want to remind you that we voted this down already in town. That was one of those issues where turf has failed for like the third time here, okay? So I think that the town as a group was not in favor of using open space funding for putting in a turf field.
I don't think there was ever a referendum on that, was there?
Yeah, I think we
On the
did
open
have.
space?
We did vote on something. We voted on a school referendum for
Correct,
to use
the
Board
school.
of Education money.
Right.
But I believe we also did vote on whether or not we wanted to use that for field maintenance and issues like that.
Maintenance. There was a referendum on
Well,
maintenance.
I think this is kind of the same thing. But anyway, we voted no on that. And I think if you surveyed people, 9 out of 10 people would tell you they didn't want open space money used for an artificial structure. Someone also mentioned preserving our aquifer. This would be degrading our aquifer, okay? I mean, that's kind of a proven thing. This is not, you're talking about lead. I think there's probably not lead in tires anymore, but there's benzene, there's toluene, there's a lot of other chemicals that have been banned from personal products that are still in tires, and this is the stuff that will end up in your aquifer. So, again, I feel like I've been here for 3 years talking about this. There is a town, you know what I'm talking about, in Connecticut with the lovely organic field program. It's possible to do this. I know someone on the council once told me they contacted this person and got completely different information than I got from the person. I suggest, once again, we could improve the fields that we have. We still need more, I'm sure, but the ones that are there, you could do a much better job. You could get rid of your rocks and your glass and all the issues you have with the unusability. I mean, Rutgers University has a program in organic turf maintenance, okay? Why don't we invest some time looking into this, making the fields that we have better as a separate issue so that we don't have to have people coming every month with bags of rocks and other problems, okay?
That's who we're dealing with.
Good. I think that would be wonderful, and I think you might solve a load of your problems, and it would be so much better than what you're doing now. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? If not, I'll close, and I just want to reiterate one thing before I close here to the public. Mr. O'Doherty, during his report, did indicate that we may take action on DPW building this evening, so if you have any comments, now's the time to speak to that. If not, I will close the meeting to the public and now move on to payment of bills. Bills list dated February 19th. Any comments, questions? Someone offer that, please.
So moved.
Or second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes.
Councilman Cobell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saventi?
Yes.
Councilman Gianfino?
Yes.
A little rough on Flip's name, but
Yeah.
we'll forgive you there.
It was pretty good.
It's close.
Pretty good. Fairly good. I've heard worse, probably.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Now moving on to the consent agenda. This is items A through T. Any discussion for the dais on any of the resolutions that are being put forth in the consent agenda and the approval of the minutes? Once again, we did have a report from Chairman Klein on the authorization to sign applications for the Morris County Preservation Trust, and that is items P, Q, and R. Hearing no discussion, someone please offer the consent agenda as listed in the agenda this evening.
I'll make that motion.
Your second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes, with the exception of May 15th meeting agenda minutes, which I believe I'm not entitled to vote on.
Councilman Cabell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saventi?
Yes.
Councilman D'Antonio?
Yes.
Thank you. This evening, we've got two items under old business. The first is the public hearing adoption on ordinance 1-15. This is an ordinance authorizing a special emergency appropriation of $260,000 for the preparation and execution of the reassessment program to update and make current a previous revaluation of real property in the borough of Kinnelon in the county of Morris, New Jersey, for the use of local assessor of the borough. This ordinance was introduced last month at our meeting held on January 22nd, 2015. The proper notice was published as required law. By law, a copy was posted on the municipal building bulletin board, and additional copies were made available to the public. This is an ordinance that speaks to the fact that we are obligated by statute to do a reevaluation every 10 years, and we were delayed last year in making this happen because of the fact that the state had not approved our tax maps. So we actually had to go through the exercise of updating the tax maps, getting the state to sign off on that before we can move forward. And there was some discussion with the vendor here, or the professional, on ultimately negotiating a contract after we had agreed to initial price, and I think we've come to an understanding on that. So the meeting is now open to the public. Anyone that would like to speak to Ordinance 115, now's your opportunity to come forward and speak to this ordinance. If not, I will close the meeting to the public and bring it back to the dais. Does anyone on the council wish to speak to the ordinance at this point in time? If not, will someone please offer a motion to adopt ordinance 1-15?
So moved.
Your second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes.
Councilman Cabell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saventi?
Yes.
Councilman D'Antonio?
Yes.
Thank you. I take note of the fact that, once again, the debt of the borough was not listed in this ordinance because it came on earlier in the year, and we will, in fact, hopefully address that in the future ordinance actions. The second is ordinance, hopefully the number's right here, we say 215? Ordinance 2-15 is to amend Chapter 13-5, Committees of the Code of the Borough of Kinnelon, New Jersey, entitled Road Department. This was really introduced to establish parity between the management officials and the membership of the committee. So, nope. This is the wrong one. This is the Technology Committee.
Yeah.
So this is the Information and Technology Committee. Our council had indicated that we needed to form that committee by ordinance. Adam Barish has been acting in the chairman capacity, but now we're going to formalize the formation of the Technology Committee. So this ordinance was introduced last month at a meeting held on January 22nd, 2015. Proper notice was published as required by law. A copy was posted on the municipal building bulletin board, and additional copies were made available to the public. The meeting is now open to anyone who would like to speak to ordinance 2-15. Hearing none, I'll close the meeting to the public and bring it back to the dais. Does anyone from the council wish to speak to ordinance 2-15? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adopt.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes.
Councilman Cabell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saventi?
Yes.
Councilman D'Antonio?
Yes.
Thank you. Next order of business is the introduction of ordinance 3-15, and an ordinance to amend Chapter 62 of the Code of the Borough of Kinnelon, New Jersey, entitled Road Department. This is the one to establish parity between the management and the rank and file regarding health and life benefits. Currently, there is not the same benefit extended to the administrative officers. Does anyone from the council wish to discuss the ordinance at this time? If not, I'll ask for a motion to introduce.
I make a motion to introduce.
Do your second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes.
Councilman Cavell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saventi?
Yes.
Councilman Giantonio?
Yes.
Thank you. Whereas the above ordinance was introduced at this meeting held on February 19, 2015, read by title and passed on first reading, now therefore be resolved at the regular meeting to be held on March 19, 2015 at 8 p.m. prevailing time at the Kinnelon Municipal Building, this council further consider for second reading and final passage the said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the acting clerk of this borough, or in her absence, an appropriate official, hereby directed to publish the proper notice thereof. Someone make a motion to have it published?
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. Next item is the tax collector's report and investment officer's report.
Lakeland Bank current account, $3,286,103.73. 2015 taxes, $3,152,955.50. 2014 taxes, $59,308.68. Interest, $2,476.88. Redemption, $62,174.84. Redemption interest, $9,187.83. The total was $3,286,103.73. Interest earned for the month of January 2015 was $405.51.
Thank you. I'll ask that you file the report as read. Next order of business is the district school payment of $2,855,395.50.
I'll make the motion.
Your second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes.
Councilman Cavell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saventi?
Yes.
Councilman Giantonio?
Yes.
Okay, next is the mayor's appointments with confirmation hopefully by council, and I understand that the council, if I read correctly, wants to take some independent action here. So I'm going to ask the council, do you have discussion on any of the mayor appointments being put forth as listed on the agenda?
Well, Mayor, I think...
Or if you want to handle them individually.
I think our only action I want to consider is Open Space Advisory Commission with Bob Lewis.
Yeah, but that's separate. These are my appointments, Jim, so I want to get my appointments cleared off, and then the council, if the council wants to take independent action, that's the opportunity.
Yeah, no, I don't have any problem with any of your appointments.
Anybody else, any comments or questions?
No,
I think we can do them as one.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion to confirm my appointments as listed in the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes.
Councilman Cavell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saventi?
Yes.
Councilman Giantonio?
Yes.
And I'd like to commend those people for their volunteer work. It's a tremendous effort, and thank you so much for doing it, firefighters and planning board and everything else.
And sitting through our meeting.
And sitting through our meeting.
That's the real test.
Now, Mark, apparently there's some discussion on vacancies for 30 days. That deviates from our procedures here administratively. What we've done is we've advertised positions, and in fact, I've actually looked to individual committees to interview and make a recommendation back to the mayor and council on appointments. And if I hear you correctly, that is not consistent with state statute. So I'm going to ask you at the end of the conversation really to memorialize whatever opinion you may or may not have. You may have had some conversations with council people between last week and this week, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. My assessment was that we were going to talk about this a little bit further because I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page. But if the council wants to act independently and you green light that, then that's where we go.
Well, let me first explain what the law is. Under powers of the mayor shall nominate and with the advice and consent of the council, appoint all subordinate officers of the borough unless there is a specific different method specified in the statute, like, for example, Board of Adjustment, which says, do whatever the ordinance says, and in our case, it gives the complete power to the mayor. Unless a specific term of the general law requires a different appointment procedure, he shall make his nomination to any such office within 30 days of that office becoming vacant, and they become vacant on January 1st. Now, that's just plain reading of the statute. I didn't make that up.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Our committee members are defined as subordinate officers?
I believe so.
I believe so, or you know so?
I know so.
Okay.
I have no reason to think that the appointments to a committee are any different than the appointments of a professional or anyone else. Okay. They are subordinate officers of the borough. The council, when an appointment is not made, or they don't confirm an appointment or nomination by the mayor, shall within 30 days of being presented such nomination make the appointment to that office on their own. I take the statute, two of them, that's powers of the mayor, powers of the council, to be read together to say that you basically have January to fill your appointments. Those appointments, some would suggest that the mayor has one shot at it. He nominates, and the council either approves or denies that nomination. I don't believe that. I believe that the mayor can make 100 nominations during January, and that hopefully coming up with one that the council agrees with. And I believe that's in deference to the mayor and in deference to the chair of the meetings. And I believe that's what the statute contemplates, because the idea is ultimately to get agreement. So a system which thwarts the mayor making additional nominations, I don't think serves any legitimate purpose. So the mayor gets all January, in my mind, to make as many appointments as he wants. And the council has to make a decision on whether they agree with any of them. And if he makes one on January 5th and the council disagrees, hopefully the mayor comes back with one on January 10th. The council may agree or disagree, etc., all through the month of January. However, there are two times when this runs into a problem. The first of which, if there's no appointment, and it may be that we have sort of a different procedure in Kinnelon and have relied on a different procedure for many years. It may be that for a long time nobody objected to that procedure or was never put to this sort of gridlock kind of test. Is one problem. The other problem is that the mayor makes 10 appointments through January. There is no confirmation. We now get into February. In either of those cases, the statute is clear. It becomes a council appointment. Now, whether we rely on some tradition or practice, I think those are always good things to rely on. And they always hold unless there's an actual gridlock. When there's an actual gridlock, you have to look at what the law is. The only other place that occasionally comes up with a question on this is if the mayor makes an appointment on, for example, January 20th, and that appointment is not confirmed, the actions of the council say, the council, whenever it fails to confirm the nomination of the mayor to any official or to a subordinate office of the borough within 30 days of being presented with the nomination. Some people would say that means, well, then the council, if the mayor makes the nomination on January 20th, then the council can't act until February 20th, that 30 days. That's not true. Case law is replete with the fact that it's not true. But some people say that. So I want to get that off the table too. That's not what occurred here. What occurred here is that there, in effect, has yet to be a nomination. The council is free at that point to make their own determination, to give deference to the chair and allow more time, different discussions. It's always my preference that these issues work themselves out instead of being forced to gridlock. And maybe it's past that point, being whatever, February 19th, whatever the date is. But that's always a preference. I think that's a strong preference under the law. But other than that, the statutory reading is pretty clear. The time for those appointments is the first 30 days from when they become vacant. So, having said that, that's the law. What the council and mayor, what you choose to do with that law is up to you. I can only assure you it's an accurate statement of the law.
So to summarize at this point in time, the council wants to take action independent of me.
That's up to them.
That's up to them. Okay, I'll bring it back to the dais. Anyone want to speak to, Jim and Dan's, I guess, nomination of Bob Lewis to the Open Space Public Advisory Committee? And now's your time to speak to that independent. I want to classify it in that way because it's not being done via a mayoral appointment, because my preference would be that we wait a month and discuss it in council work session, but apparently I am not in agreement with the council on that issue. So anybody from the dais wants to speak to that issue, now's your opportunity to talk.
As far as you said that, Mayor, we discussed it last week at the workshop.
Correct.
And we said that we would go back to the committee chair, and the committee chair then would tell us about the individuals we did interview with that committee.
Right.
And tell us the results of that interview. She has not. Carol?
No, I believe what the mayor had asked was that the chair of the committee, the Open Space Advisory Committee,
correct,
poll the committee.
Okay.
I am not the chair of the Open Space Advisory Committee. I'm the liaison to that committee.
Okay.
He polled the committee, and I've given those results to the mayor, and the results were not in favor of recommending Bob Lewis for appointment to the Open Space Advisory Committee. It came down to, there were 6 members, and it came down to a 5 no, 1 yes, but with reservations. I didn't poll the committee myself. That was up to the chairperson. Those are the results I was given.
We've been waiting for this for a while now, and I openly came out and said, is it the fact that you just don't want him on that committee? Just be honest here. I don't know where we're heading with this. There was 2 open positions. We had 2 candidates, and one got in, one didn't. And now here we are tonight saying to Jack, hey, do you want to be on it? I mean, we need someone on it. You asked me specifically for someone from recreation. Is there, anybody? I give you a guy who coaches football, coaches lacrosse, our 2 triangle sports in town that deal with fields. And bam, we're like, 5 didn't like him, 1 said, yeah, he'll take him, but he's not too happy with him. I don't believe in committees making picks for who's on their committee. It creates collusion. So I want to make a recommendation that Bob Lewis goes on to the Open Space Advisory Committee.
Well, Jim, just before we get to that point, okay, let's finish the discussion, and then you can make a motion, okay? So I just want to give everybody a chance to have some input. So, Adam, you wanted to...
I was just going to suggest to the council that in business, I usually let my managers make the decision, and in this case, if the committee has not suggested a certain person, Bob Lewis in this case, and we're going to override that, I would at least suggest that we bring him into the next council work session and have a proper interview, and then we can all come to a conclusion, whether it's in open or closed. I don't know what the appropriate place is to discuss the pros and the cons, and at least that way we have an educated decision point. I only know Bob casually, through the campaign, and I'd like a chance to get to talk to him and find out his interests. The only point of contact that I had with you interviewing for the position was a resume that actually said zoning board or board of adjustment. So it wasn't as if that was even customized to the position that you were looking for. That may speak volumes, it may say nothing. And I'd like the opportunity to talk to you separately about that prior to making a vote.
I think you can't put someone like Bob, who wants to get involved in the town and do things, and Tammy Roselli is an excellent candidate. I mean, if you're going to judge him against her, you
needed a planning board.
No comparison, but I mean, if Tammy's been very involved in town, she's very involved in open space, very involved in the planning board, an amazing woman, deserves the job. There's 2 open positions. Bob was one of them, and again, I want to make the recommendation.
Well, it also has to boil down to the synergy of the committee. And does a person really want to be appointed to a committee by force. How well is that committee going to perform and
He
work
has
together?
no other option.
What do you mean, no
All
other
we're going to do is wait another month to see if we can get another candidate to run against him, and then we're going to have to fight that battle.
The spot's been open for some time now.
The spot has been open for more than 30 days. It's been open for over a year. It's been up on the website as an
So we finally
advertisement.
have two candidates for two positions. and
After
we're
a year,
gonna-
we have two candidates for two positions.
So you're going to force one person on.
We're not forcing him on. He's the only applicant for the position that's been advertised for over a year, as you pointed out. The man has expressed interest in doing it. He puts his time in the town. He's a coach. He wants to get involved.
And I haven't heard any downside. All I've said is they said no. Why?
And that the secret ballot went to the
Frankly,
mayor.
The committee...
Excuse me,
is
Jim?
not-
Excuse me?
That she said she handed you the ballot.
She did not hand me a ballot. I was informed by an email today that ultimately the decision recommendation was from the chair that the vote was 5-1. That was not a secret ballot.
That's what she said.
I did not say anything about a secret ballot.
He said a ballot.
Don't try and put
Said a
words in my
ballot.
mouth.
A poll, she said.
I said a poll.
A
The
poll. I
mayor
apologize.
requested that the chairperson
I
of the Open
apologize.
Space Advisory
I
Committee
apologize.
poll the committee.
I apologize.
Okay, I think
And
this
our
discussion is
ordinance
only
doesn't-
going, this discussion is only going one direction. I understand full well that 4 members of the council supported Mr. Lewis in his run for mayor. I think it's political in nature. I was hoping to have a conversation at our next meeting to really vent that and get some comfort with that, but I understand full well that at this particular point in time, I have a motion from Mr. Frieda to appoint Bob Lewis to the Open Space Public Advisory Committee community position that's currently open. And that's the motion, if I get it right, Jim, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Leland, I'd like an opportunity to interview you separately. No.
Councilman Cobell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saventi?
No.
Councilman Giantonio?
I've heard no reason why I would vote no, so yes.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, if you'll join the other people that are here tonight, I will do a mass oath.
Where is the photograph?
Do we have a closed session for a closed session?
Right now, I'm saying, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into?
You heard the
Those are fine.
council.
Yes, there are. Here comes, I think this is Pranav right here.
Oh, okay. Come on up, you gotta get in the picture.
No discussion. It's,
Then it should be set.
one of the most important
Oh, the other one's volunteer, fine.
Our fireman's not here.
Doesn't look it.
You heard the council, rather spirited discussion. I think that we, in fact, all agree to one thing, that public service is an exceptional opportunity, and we are always appreciative of anyone that's willing to serve in that capacity. So, once again, on behalf of the council and the mayor, I once again want to thank you for making the initiative and taking the opportunity to serve. So thank you. If you please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I, solemnly swear and affirm. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the State of New Jersey. And the Charter of the Borough of Kinnelon. Morris County, New Jersey. I do further solemnly swear and affirm. That I will faithfully. Impartially. And justly perform. All the duties of the office of. State your office.
Tammy wins, she had the longest
I should
one.
record that in the Borough of Kinnelon. According to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Congratulations. The opposition equally politically motivated, if not more so.
This is the time, unfortunately, that we have to go into a closed session, and I just want the attorney to ultimately articulate why we're going to close. This is something that I don't particularly like to do, but unfortunately we have some business that we need to take action on and close, or at least take under consideration and close.
Did we want to talk about the garage? That should not be enclosed if you want to talk about it before we go into closed, right? Or do we want to talk to an architect? Yeah, I just don't want to go into closed.
Let me ask the question. Just, are we in consensus that we want to take action, or you want to talk about taking action?
I would only question the animal shelter and their concerns with meeting with them, if that was any part of it.
Okay, why don't we do this? Because the public's here, I'd prefer to do this when you're in the audience. So we are going to enter into conversation on the dais about awarding the contract, and we have hopefully the dollar amount and the contractor in the report. So I'm going to ask the attorney to phrase the award of the contract, and then we'll bring it back to the dais for discussion.
If the council and the more governing bodies interested in awarding the contract, the award of the contract would be to the low bidder, IBN Construction, I believe.
Yes, sir.
IBN Construction, for their bid amount, we'll have to discuss what options we're taking, if any. And again, there are options on the table there. And that the council has desires to award that contract for the contract price plus the bid price plus options, whatever ones we choose. And that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute the contract.
Okay. That's the wording of the resolution. So I'll bring it back to the dais for discussion. And I think, Dan, you had some conversation, I guess, regarding the construction of the building, so I'll turn it over to you as DPW chair, and what's your opinion, and then we can move from there.
My opinion is that we're going to get a quality structure, that we do need this facility to proceed forward with our DPW, specifically for the Stormwater Act. We have to protect our vehicles. It'll make our vehicles last longer for anything that we purchase. We're going to place them inside. It's easier for our snow removal when we do load our trucks with salt and place them inside, that it doesn't get wet and frozen outside. It comes out of the vehicles easier. So I am making a recommendation that we proceed forward and we award this contract to IBM Construction.
And just to clarify, I know there was some discussion about, basically eliminating the 4-foot concrete wall or block wall, so you're suggesting still moving forward with that design?
We're moving forward with the existing design with the 4-foot concrete walls, which will make it last longer. Okay. I mean, as you see, our original building was built in 1966, and that is a good structure that has lasted. There are some additional things that the architect has recommended, each one of those things that we could proceed with. We do not have to award that part tonight, but we can award. We do not have to award the part if we want to have any further discussions in the new garage mezzanine, paint in the exterior other than stucco, because there are some additional costs and some costs we can subtract if we so desire. But I'm asking that we award that basic contract tonight.
Let me just get some clarification from the attorney. Mark, it's a little bit of an unusual step. I think in the past my experience has been we
award the alternates the same night.
Right.
Okay.
My preference would be to do that, and obviously I have no interest in delaying it, because I don't want to be in a change order situation.
Right.
And remember, we can run into a jam with a change order that's greater than 20%. If we'd like to discuss the architect's letter, where he suggested certain alternates, and we can make a decision on that, that's fine. But I would rather, we have 60 days to award, where about 30 days in, possibly a little, maybe 40 days in, something like that. I would rather we award completely tonight Because it does matter.
Or not.
Or not.
Or not.
Or not tonight.
Or just defer it.
The architect has recommended that we proceed with each one of the alternates.
Okay, well, that's
In his letter.
a decision and a cost issue you guys have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, the wording is eliminate, no, but it is, he has suggested that we go forward with all the recommended alternates.
And just,
There are 5 alternates.
yeah, just let me clarify. Everybody has seen, Cliff, everybody's seen the letter from the architect?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
I read the letter, maybe I'm remembering it wrong. I thought on the list of the 5 additional items, the first 2 said no, then 3, 4, 5 was yes, and then a couple of different versions down, he says, but if you don't
Correct.
do 3, 4, 5, do 1, 2.
But the wording in it, the no is a yes, because of the wording, the way it's worded. The first one is eliminate the new garage mezzanine.
Okay, you're right.
No.
You're right, I missed.
Okay? Painting the exterior masonry walls in lieu of installing stucco? No.
Right.
So he's recommending that we do the stucco and that we do the mezzanine.
He's saying no to the negatives.
Not to eliminate it.
The only
Okay.
alternate, and I'm saying this only because I said it on the meetings with John Whitehead, is the epoxy on the floor was about $29,000. It's not a lot of money in the overall picture, but John questioned whether or not there would be value to that, and I don't know if there's any further discussion, if you've had further discussion with John and the
I
architect.
didn't have any further discussion with
And
him
what
on
you
the
think about it?
epoxy.
On the epoxy,
I mean, there are 2 epoxies here, numbers 3 and 4. We definitely have to do number 5, which is to replace the concrete in the existing facility. You looked at it too the other day. I mean, that definitely has to be replaced.
What's your thought?
But those epoxy floors,
I don't know, I have them at the dealership, and they come with a pretty good warranty. Certainly, they keep the oils from getting into that concrete. And for the amount that I was seeing here, and Dan knows, I was one of his biggest critics on the other side of the dais. I think he's put a heck of a building together, and I agree with the way the architects have stated it.
I just want to know if there was further discussion. If it, obviously, you thought about it.
I agree with him, yeah.
Okay.
Mayor, can I ask a procedural question?
Sure.
If we approved everything tonight, including all 5 of those steps, at some point, maybe during construction or whatever, could we withdraw the epoxy that we're discussing right now?
No. I think it's accepted.
Once it's done, it's done?
Remember,
Okay.
once
You can go up, you can't go down.
Oh, you can?
Okay?
accept the bid, remember, people are going to mobilize, insurance is going to be purchased,
Oh, okay.
steel's going to be
Yeah.
all of those things, you can't order and then fix.
Okay. Too much. Understood.
Again, completely up to you guys.
Okay.
So
In the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money, but I think Adam hit the nail on the head. It seems like it would be helpful.
So if I understand correctly, we've bonded $1.6 million, and the total contract with the additions, Dan, comes out to what? $1,518,000. So we're tight, but, you know...
Well, I think there's additional money in the bond over and above the 1.6 for soft costs.
Yeah, okay.
So soft costs, they're covered too, but over and above the 1.6.
the epoxy was $22,000 and $59,000 by IBM.
For those of you who don't remember, there were 2 epoxy components. One was the epoxy of the old garage floor that was remaining, and one was epoxy on the new garage floor that was being built. So there's 2 epoxy numbers. They differ, different sizes, different methodologies, etc.
Which was the more expensive? The new one?
The new garage was $59,000.
And I know we've talked about this in work session. I think we ended up with 13 bids, if I'm not mistaken, and of the 13 bids, I think the highest went to almost 2.2, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Rough number. So once again, you know, this is IBM, this is the low bidder, and as Dan has stated, ultimately we've reviewed this, and the opinion back from our Fox Architectural is that the building can be constructed for the dollars that we are considering awarding. So, any other questions, comments? No. Jim?
No.
Okay. So we have a motion that's been framed by the attorney.
The motion at this point would be to award the contract to IBM with all applicable...
Can you just speak into the mic?
To award the contract to IBM
with, as the low bidder with all 5 alternates, and to authorize the mayor to execute that contract and move forward in the process.
Someone offer that, please?
I'll make the motion.
Your second?
Second?
Roll call.
Councilman Frida?
Yes.
Councilman O'Doherty?
Yes.
Councilman Barish?
Yes.
Councilman Cavell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Saventi?
Yes.
Councilman Giantonio?
Yes.
Thank you. I think that concludes our business for open this evening. Thank you so much for coming out and volunteering on such a cold night, and it's going to get warm. Dan told me. So we're going to go and close, yeah.
Thank you again for your willingness to serve. See you at the next meeting.
In order to go into close, we'll be adopting a resolution to go into closed session. Karen has a checklist resolution that I provided her. You'll conform that up from our agenda. You will call me if you have questions.
Okay.
The purposes of the closed session will be to discuss a payroll issue with the collective bargaining unit, as well as a property acquisition matter that I'd like to bring the council up to speed on. I don't believe there will be any action taken after we come out of closed, so it's not a matter of us coming back and taking action. We'll be in closed for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Minutes of the closed session will be released to the public after the reasons for us having gone into closed have run out. In other words, after the contract is done and after the property acquisition process. We'll go over that.
Okay. Someone make a motion to go into closed.
I'll make that motion.
Your second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are in closed. Jim, if you can put us on pause.
No, sure.
Hey, Jack. Jack, on your way out, could